Now, this concept, of course, applies to us as sons and daughters, the same way it applies to children. We learn and we grow in segments, in layers. And there's going to be obscure passageways, usually lasting longer than seems needful. At least in my humble opinion, that's how it is with me. God, it's been long enough, come on. So let's consider, just for a few minutes, how profitable dark times, times of hiddenness, obscurity, how profitable they can be in our lives. Now, there's another mystical writer. You may have heard of Brother Lawrence, a pretty well-known book, Practicing the Presence of God. He came in the 1600s. He was also a Carmelite mystic, like John of the Cross, like Teresa of Avila. And long before Freud was on the scene, talking about the subconscious mind, long before that, Brother Lawrence said this, 1600, circa 1600. He said, people would be surprised if they knew what their souls said to God sometimes. People would be surprised if they knew what their souls said to God sometimes. You know, I want to know that. I really do. I want to live an authentic life. You know, I've gone through many seasons of my Christianity where I was kind of more like the Pharisee. You know, I did the right things, checked all the boxes, had the facade up, but inside I wasn't really authentic. There was a lot of toxic areas of my life that God hadn't even got to yet, that I didn't even know existed. So I'm glad for the things He reveals and brings to the surface. So if there is indeed a deeper part of the soul, even beneath our conscious awareness, how will we ever become aware of what we're thinking and feeling at these deep levels? Now, my prescription would be, I pray for deeper encounters with God. I'm all for that. He responds fairly quickly with a bright light, you know, rays of comfort, and a fairly smooth escort to help me to relinquish all that's toxic within me. And then I get new blessing, then I get new revelation, and I move forward. Occasionally, it does work this way, but not normally, at least not for me. But consider this. Sometimes we long for and we pray for a stronger attachment to God, a deeper bonding, connecting with God, but we're not clearly seeing other attachments in our lives that are using up our bandwidth. We only have so much to offer to God, so much bandwidth to give. So in other words, I can be bonded with other activities, habits, compulsions that, if out of balance, become addictions in my life. I'm talking about all kinds of addictions, not just the, alcohol, drugs, but all kinds of other, points of focus in my life that can be addictive. And over time, if addictions accumulate and grow deep enough roots, they clearly become idols. Idols in our lives. And this all plays out within the context of normal life, even in the four walls of the church. So I'm not talking about in a rehab center, I'm talking about in normal life. There's an author, Gerald May, who wrote The Dark Night of the Soul. And it's kind of a commentary on The Dark Night of the Soul that John of the Cross wrote. So it's Gerald May. I'll put the book title up there. Gerald May, The Dark Night of the Soul. And a quotation from that book, which I think is really profound. Attachment thrives on denial. Attachment thrives on denial. So attachments in my life that are maybe not super sinful or bad, but they're simply using up my bandwidth, keeping me from being more mature in God because they're taking up my time and my focus. If I don't know that they're there, attachments thrive on denial. I'm doing fine. I don't see anything wrong. I don't see the need to make any adjustments. And as long as I'm unaware of something, then I'm not responsible, right? I can truly believe that I'm doing well. I don't see the need for any major change. Let me quote Gerald May again on the profitability of the dark night of the soul, the profitability of times of hiddenness. Listen to this. It is the secret way in which God not only liberates us from our attachments and idolatries, but also brings us to the realization of our true nature. In other words, once we stop trying to be Houdini and escape the dark night or the times of hiddenness or the times of wilderness that God has brought us to, there's so much for us to discover and realize about our lives and about God. Another quote from Gerald May: if we are honest, I think we have to admit that we will likely try to sabotage any movement toward true freedom. If we really knew what we were called to relinquish on this journey, our defenses would never allow us to take the first steps. Sometimes, the only way we can enter the deeper dimensions of the journey is by being unable to see where we're going. End of quote. So much in there. I encourage you to, if you didn't get all that, to rewind, go back and read that again. And so here's how I kind of sum it up in my mind. In worldly matters, right, just in natural worldly matters, we need light so we can avoid stumbling. Makes sense. In spiritual matters, it is precisely when we do think we know where to go that we are most likely to stumble. So God may actually arrange to darken our awareness in order to keep us safe. Now, one caveat here. A time and a place of hiddenness led by the Spirit may darken or obscure what you would prefer to be seeing and experiencing. However, in these times, and I just went through a season like this actually a few months ago. It was horrific, horrifically wonderful. In these times, you have the opportunity to see your own true nature with increasing clarity. I think I prayed for this somewhere along the way in my Christian life a lot, right? So it really is walking in the light.